Hello, Starseeds, and welcome to episode 6 of the Rachel Z Project. We're going to talk all about the Dragon Warriors, my upcoming graphic novel that I'm working on, as well as the heart of a prairie girl, because I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, so I am a prairie girl, and I'm trying to put out into the universe my return back to the prairies at some point in time. This year, I am in no rush. The best laid plans do take time. I just do know that my future is back in the prairies. Episode 6 is all about the Dragon Warriors, which is also a novel that I wrote when I was about 14 years old, about myself and my 4 best friends at the time. And we had male counterparts called the Dragon Ninjas. And so I'm going to be updating this to be the Dragon Warriors and our counterparts, the Dragon Knights. It's also going to be revised in such a way that it essentially teaches us about astrology at the same time. That when you think about any type of mythology or world building, it does need to be grounded in truth. That's the funny thing about fantasy and sci-fi, these fantastical stories, the fact that these larger than life motifs could somehow speak more of a truth than what we see with our very own eyes in sober reality. The Dragon Warriors, this story to talk about what we are going through right now with our psychedelic renaissance and what mushrooms and LSD and the age of Aquarius and how that all ties in together as to what it really means to have human consciousness raising to that next level. What does that actually look like? Because we do have forces at hand in this reality that would do everything to stop humans from realizing the true magic of what a human being really is. And so the Dragon Warriors as a story, and to follow Carl Jung's advice as to the best way to alchemize your reality and realize your experience and come to self-actualization, put it in a book. Carl Jung himself actually wrote this crazy fantastical novel that doesn't quite make sense. It seems pretty psychedelic actually, but I have to look up what the name of it is. I will put a little excerpt or like a little tag as to what that is. It's pretty pricey, but there's some interesting stories in there, and this goes back to the main point of what symbols are to human beings. And in Dragon Warriors, the symbology of what a dragon is, especially as it relates to female power, is that serpentine knowledge, the knowledge of the serpent within us that has the knowledge of that darker side. And so the next astrology chat that I'm going to be doing is going to be on Black Moon Lilith. And in Sailor Moon, there is a character, her name is Black Lady. She's basically the really, it's so funny because I love Sailor Moon. Like I really, really love Sailor Moon because I've realized that I've basically kind of personified her, and there are odes in the Dragon Warriors to the influences on me, right? So Sailor Moon is of course a huge one. You're going to see in the book, in the graphic novel, how they transform and the utilization of like crystal powers as well. As I've said many times, Sailor Moon is pretty much on the nose as it comes to astrology. And so relating this back to the Dragon Warriors and dragon power, it comes down to an ancient intel of woman magic, of womb magic, of the unknown magic that you can't really speak about in this logical sober state. It's something that must be felt with all of the deeper other senses besides, the logical mercurial mind, all in balance, right? And so the Dragon Warriors are going to be, the way that I've reframed it is, are there going to be 8 women, 7 tribes of Atlantis. There were 7 ancient tribes of Atlantis before Atlantis sank. And so each tribe would send their women, when they came of 18 years of age, they would be put through trials for 2 years from the age 18 to 20. And during this time, during the trials, all the women of Atlantis, of ancient Atlantis, would determine what their destiny was, what they're in this lifetime, like what they were essentially here to do. And the dragon warriors were an ancient warrior class of women who were there to protect the ancient knowledge of the dragons, as well as be a guardian for Gaia, earth knowledge, for ancient intel of the technology that resounds within the planet herself. In her dream, being aware of it. And so dragon knowledge is knowledge of that dreamscape and being able to harness the shadow, your shadow dragon, and being able to wield that power and being respectful of it. Because I think they talked about this even in Game of Thrones. A dragon is not a pet. It is a power to be wielded. And we all, as women, have dragon power. Some of us tend to put that dragon in a little cage or pretend that we don't have one at all. And sometimes that dragon gets very fat and will break out because you're not paying attention. So what psychedelics strive to do is to have you face that dragon. And so bringing this all back to the heart of a prairie girl and what this has to do with the dragon warriors. Last summer, the summer of 2022, myself, Wolfie, and my hubby Kevin, we did a road trip. We drove to Winnipeg and we retrieved the original manuscript that I hand wrote when I was 14 before I transcribed it onto the computer. My sister actually did a book report on the Dragon Warriors in grade 5. Really funny. And then I remember that my teacher at the time told me that I really should write children's books. Really funny. But regardless, going back to the story of the heart of a prairie girl, we drove out there and we got this manuscript and I reread it before I started my revision of the Dragon Warriors into a graphic novel, because it was a conversation. It was such a trip to be able to listen, to hear Rachel from 14 years old in the prairies, dreaming about being a superhero, about being able to create a world that my friends and I could play in. And I've always done this. I've always been a real creative person when it came to even playing or coming up with ideas of stuff. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the prairie girl aspect of this. I'm going to have an episode all about the 2 major road trips that myself and Kevin took once, and then the one that my sister and I did from Vancouver to Toronto, which has a whole host of stuff in it as well. And I have a couple video clips to share about that in terms of that story. So I'm going to close episode 6 of the Rachel Z Project about the Dragon Warriors and the heart of a prairie girl with this, that I'm going to be trying to let people in on my vision as soon as it is ready to kind of be explored. I'm going to also be working on some short films, some short excerpts from the story itself, because a lot of it has to do with the magic in our reality right now, as well as what dance has to do with it, what music has to do with it, as well as what psychedelics have to do with it. And I've made the 4 alchemical houses of magic in ancient Atlantis line up with our modern psychedelic friends, right? So air is LSD, fire is DMT or 5-MAO, earth are mushrooms, and water is ayahuasca. So it kind of all lined up with the fact that all the elements make up the same whole, the same one. It's just different lenses and different perspectives on how we wield that magic. And just like in your Starseed blueprint, where you'll have a different elemental breakdown in yourself and in your chart, so does everything else in existence. And with that, I bring episode 6 of the Rachel Z Project to a close. Until next week, Starseeds.